Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Excel. In this module, I want to show you how you can create a basic if statement. So on the screen, I've got a few examples I want to go through. First of all, though, I want to mention that I have named this list of sales. I've named it sales, and I've named this purple area bonus. So you can see the names there, and I'm going to use the names, and I've got the formulas typed out here so you can see what I'm going to type. So basically what I want this to do is if any of these people have got sales over 21,000, I want them to get a 10% bonus, and if they haven't, I want them to get nothing. So this is the if. So I'm typing equals if, press my tab key to get the bracket, and then I'm going to refer to the named range, which is sales. So if sales is greater than 21,000, and you don't need to do a pound sign or a comma or a full stop, just a number. That's the test, and you can notice underneath the help, the bit that's bold is where you are in the formula. When I do a comma, that will move across to what to do if that's true. So if that is true, I want to look at the sales and times it by 10%. That's what I want to happen if that's true, comma. Now the help goes across to the false bit. If it's false, that means they haven't got a bonus. I just want it to be 0. And then I'm closing the bracket, and because I've used names, when I tick this formula, it will spill it down like so. And that's a basic if. If I change this to 22,000, that will flick over the other way, and that guy will get a bonus. Now in the remarks column, I want this to say if they've got a bonus, I want it to say well done. If they haven't got a bonus, I want it to say get a grip. So in that one, I'm going equals if, press my tab key. I'm going to use bonus. I've called this purple area bonus. So if bonus equals 0, which means they haven't got one, comma, I want it to say get a grip. Now, if you're going to put a phrase, it has to go in quotes like that, and then you can type a sentence however you want it to be, like that, but it has to go inside quotes. So that's what I want to do if that's true. So if they haven't got a bonus, it's going to say get a grip, comma, if they have got a bonus, inside quotes, you're going to say well done, closing the quotes, closing the bracket, clicking the tick, and then that will spill it down again, and you can see how that works. Now this one over in the yellow, I'm not using names. You don't have to use names, but I recommend you do. It's easier. This one is just going to look at that cell reference there. Basically, if somebody's done more than 8 hours, I want them to get overtime. If not, no overtime. This is what I'm going to type. So it's equals if, pressing my tab key. This time the test is H2, so if H2 is greater than 8, comma, I want it to say overtime, they're going to get overtime. Closing the quotes, closing the bracket, not closing the bracket, sorry, comma, what do I want it to say if they haven't got overtime? I just want it to say no overtime, no overtime. Closing the quotes, closing the bracket on that one, then I can finish it off, tick. Now this one won't spill down because I didn't use names, so I'll have to pull that one down, but I get the same sort of result. Now this next one, I have named these two columns target and actual sales, and I've also got conditional formatting in this area. This is what I'm going to type. So basically, if actual sales are greater than the target sales, target met, otherwise target not met. That's what I want to happen. So it's equals if, pressing my tab key. So if actual sales, so I'm typing actual sales is greater than, I could do equals to as well, than target, that's the test, comma, I want it to say target met, in quotes, target met, in quotes, comma, so if that's not true, it wants to say target not met, in quotes, and then closing the bracket. Then when I tick that, it fills it down, and you can see I've got conditional formatting selected, looking for those words. Now if you're going to use conditional formatting on this sort of thing, you must make sure that the conditional formatting is exactly the same as what you're typing. So if I just edit that one so you can see, so that says target not met, that's why it's red. And if I did a typo in my if statement and it wasn't exactly the same as that, it wouldn't trigger the color. So you have to make sure you do it exactly the same as whatever the if is. Now on the next sheet, this would normally be practice, but let's just go through them. So in the yellow cell, I want this to say increase or decrease if the figures in 2026 are greater than 25. So this is this one. So it's equals if, pressing my tab key. So in this case, I'm not using names. So if C2 is greater than B2, again, you could do greater than equals to. That's the test, comma. If that is true, in quotes, I want it to say increase, closing quotes, comma. If it's not true, I want it to say decrease, in quotes. And then I'm closing the bracket on that, clicking the tick, and I will have to pull that down because I didn't use names. Widen the column at the top, just double clicking on the dividing line, if I can get it, there we go, like that. Now this one, if that says 100%, so if P11 says 100%, I want this to say complete, otherwise not complete. So it's equals if, pressing tab, clicking on that cell. So if that cell equals exactly as it says there, 100%, comma, that's the test, it is complete, in quotes, like so, comma, if it's not true, it's not complete, in quotes. And then you're closing the bracket, closing the quotes, closing the bracket, clicking the tick, and then filling it down. Now at the moment I'm just using text, but obviously you could do these tests and then it could be a formula that you want. Like you might say, if that is greater than that, add 10%, or if that's greater than that, take away 10%, and stuff like that. You can do formulas instead of words. This last example, I've named these two columns budget, that's called budget, and this one is called actual. So what I want to happen in this one, if actual is greater than budget, they are over budget. So equals if, pressing the tab key, so if actual is greater than budget, that's the test, comma, I'll just use the word over, you are over, closing quotes, comma, otherwise you're under, so under, closing quotes on that one, and then closing the bracket, and then clicking the tick. And then because I'm using names again, it automatically spills the formula down. So that's a few examples of how to use an if statement, some basic if statements. That's all I want to talk about on this little video, so hopefully that was of use. Thank you for your time.